All right, guys, a very warm welcome to all of you. This particular class, this particular live class is about a topic which is, I think, most discussed and, most of the questions which every engineer out there who is working on firewalls has, and that's IPSEC T-shoot, right? With respect to IPSEC concepts, with respect to IPSEC daily working, is the tunnel working, not working, how to troubleshoot, what to do, what commands to use. These are some burning questions which comes up in our mind whenever we are working with the IPSEC. Now, it does not really matter uh, what firewall it is, honestly, because if we understand from a technological point of view how a firewall works, then it does not really matter which firewall it is. If you know the concepts, if you know the technology, and a little bit of logical skill set, if you know that, that should be enough for understanding and making any kind of VPN issues fixed. Now, having said all these things, let's dive into the world of IPSEC T-shoot. This is just about the troubleshooting which we are going to go through in the next couple of hours maybe. So right now, whenever we are discussing any kind of problems or challenges with respect to the VPN, okay, there are certain things which we should keep in back of our mind whenever we are troubleshooting any kind of a situation or a scenario. Now, VPN troubleshoot in itself is a very big topic. I mean, I can go on and on and maybe let's say have 8 to 10 sessions, and even then it will not be sufficient enough. My point over here is that I'll try to keep it simple. I'll try to keep it easy and logical enough, so that if in case you get stuck anywhere, you know what should be your next steps, what should be your troubleshooting steps or method that you can use. If not fix, then at least pinpoint the problem and then move on towards the solution of it. Okay, so that's the goal, that's the end goal of this particular session. Now, having said that, the lab that we are going to use over here, let me show you up over here. So this is the lab which I'll be working with. Okay, now let me, yeah, I prefer dark mode, so let's select that. Now see, over here you'll have a simple setup of Fortigate 1 and Fortigate 2. Okay, these are the two firewalls which are going to initiate a VPN tunnel between them. This Fortigate 4, you can call this as an ISP, a local ISP, which will be just to ensure that the connectivity between the two firewalls remains. And we will be accessing all these firewalls, and we will be trying to understand what's happening and what the troubleshooting method should be. Now these are all pre-configured with the VPN configuration, so we are going to just dive into what exactly the challenges and situations are. Now guys, what you can do is, if in case you have any questions or any follow-up questions which I'm explaining about, you can put it up in the chat box. Okay, so I have an eye over there as well. If in case I feel the question will be answered in the coming whatever I'm going to explain, I'll keep on going. And if in case something is, if a question is something which I have to stop, take a pause and give the answers, then probably I'll do that. But just make sure whatever it is, you put it up in the chat box. Okay, is it good enough? Just give me a quick yes or no in the chat box, quick. Clear? Are you with me? Good. Okay. Lovely. Good evening, guys. I see a lot of my old students as well. So great to see you guys as well. So okay, let's move on and let's understand this. Okay, before getting into the lab, let's have a high level of understanding of what needs to be done. See, over here, there are a couple of steps that you need to understand whenever you are troubleshooting or whenever you're working on any of the firewalls. A couple of things which we need to understand. First, type of tunnel. What is it that we are trying to figure out over here? Is it a site-to-site VPN or a dial-up VPN? Now, see, there are so many kind of tunnel. You have GRE tunnels, you have AD VPN tunnels, you have route-based tunnels, you have site-to-site tunnels. These are all types which are coming under site-to-site only. Okay, remote access VPNs as well. Remote access is basically your dial-up. So these are the two major categories of the VPN, and all the other VPN that you can think of, they will some way or the another will come into these two categories only. Okay, so the first thing is, of course, figuring out the nature of the tunnel, because the nature of the tunnel is very much important in troubleshooting. Because if I'm using dial-up VPN troubleshooting, I'll probably not use certain commands which is used in site to site. Okay, and vice versa. So keeping those things in mind, we need to understand the type first. Next, step 2 is you should always pick up reverse engineering. Reverse engineering is, see, whenever we are talking about tunnels, right? We there are how many tunnels? Give me a quick put up in the chat box. How many tunnels do you have? If it is IPSEC site to site tunnel, how many tunnels do you get? So Satish says 3, Lokendra says 2, Pawan says 2, Vinay also says 2. Okay. Now, Satish, you said 3. Why? You can unmute yourself as well, or you can put it up in the chat. That's okay. Why do you say 3? Guesswork, or you know something about this?
Hello.
Yeah.
Sir, IPSEC kernel side to side VPN and one more, sir. I think dial up something.
Hmm. Okay, so guys, let's understand this a little further. People who have said 2, you're not wrong. People who have said 3, well, you guys are also not wrong. So what's the right answer? I mean, if both of them cannot be the answer, right? See, people who are saying 2, they are coming from a mindset of you have what you said as main mode. Yet, yes. And what's the other one? Quick mode. Yeah, correct. People who are saying 3, they are not actually talking about modes, but they are actually talking about tunnels. So what they are actually talking about is, see, main mode has 2 tunnels. Am I right? No? Yes? Does main mode has 2 tunnels, 1 tunnel? What do you think? How many tunnels you have, or how many security associations you have on main mode? Any guesses? This will basically you'll get to know how many how much knowledge you have when it comes to technological point of view. So Lokendra 6 says 6. I'm not talking about the messages. I'm talking about security associations. I'm talking about tunnels. How many tunnels do you have on the main mode? Okay, how many know and how many do not? Say yes or no in the chat. Right. Right. See, your main mode has just one security association or tunnel, and that is bidirectional. Okay, so one security association, and this is bidirectional. Bidirectional basically means it can send the traffic, it can receive the traffic. Okay, send the traffic, receive the traffic. Okay, clear? Quick yes or no? Keep your keep your fingers on the chat, because I'll try to make it more one-to-one our conversation. Okay, quick mode. How many security association this guy has? It has 2 security associations, unidirectional. Okay, these are unidirections. That means one security association is only to send the traffic, and one security association is only to receive the traffic. Okay, quick yes or no? Are you able to follow me? So what this basically means is, Satish said 3. Well, Satish, you were right. Okay, and the people who have said 2, you guys are also right, but then you're thinking about the modes of the VPN tunnel. You're not thinking about the tunnels, and that's what happens in the interview as well. A lot of times the interview is asking a question which is in his mind he has a different answer, but in your mind you have a different answer, and that's where the miscommunication happens. So it becomes very important to understand what the question was. I didn't ever never said how many modes. I said how many tunnels. Right answer is 3. 2 are the modes, main mode or quick mode. Okay. It has one security association, which is bidirectional, and the quick mode has 2 security associations, one for sending, one for receiving. Hence, total of 3 tunnels. All right, moving ahead. So when we say reverse engineering, what do you mean by reverse engineering? Reverse engineering basically means to, to understand from the solution point of view, to understand from the last expected result, and to work your way from there. What is the last expected result when it comes to any VPN tunnel? Basically to be up, to stay up and make sure the tunnel, traffic is passing up. Yeah, that's the end goal of any VPN tunnel, regardless of what type it is, right? So reverse engineering basically means you start from the end goal and then reverse yourself to, the problem. Okay, that's one of the basics ways to figure out, easiest way to figure out the problem with any VPN tunnels. Now, when I say is a phase 2 up, you would basically have certain answers to it. Let's see what those answers are. See, if you say the security association or the tunnel is not up, if the phase 2 is not up, you need to continue with step 3, which is forget about phase 2. Let's think about phase 1. If phase 2 is not up, that means something is, broken on phase 1. Then only, because phase 2 will only come up when phase 1 is completely configured correctly, and there are no issues in negotiation of your phase 1. If these two things happen correctly, then your phase 2 will come up. If these two doesn't happen, phase 2 will never come up. So if the phase 2 is not there, forget about phase 2, come to phase 1. Let's see what the problem is. But if you say that your SA is actually there, SA is there, SA equals to 1 basically means your tunnel is up. So if the traffic is passing, okay, if your traffic is passing, then there's another step which is called as step 6, and you'll move on to there. If you say, well, yeah, the traffic is there, but then it is flapping. If the security association is flapping between up and down state, then jump to step 7. Okay, these are, the end steps for any kind of VPN issues. And the best way to troubleshoot is basically called as diagnose VPN tunnel list. Okay, I'll show you what exactly this command does and what information that you can fetch from this particular command. But depending on what answer you give, these are the steps that you guys need to follow. If you say no, forget about everything else. Come to step 3, phase 1. But if you say, it's up, but there's some problem, somewhere there's some problem. Okay, so if the security association is up, jump to step 6. What is step 6? There you go. Phase 2 is up, but traffic is not passing. So a couple of steps, couple of troubleshootings you guys need to do. That's mentioned over here. If you say, it is a flapping nature, so troubleshoot IPSEC VPN, that is flapping. Another steps. Okay, we'll look into these one by one. So I'm not going to jump any of the steps. Okay, I'm just going to make sure that you go one by one. Okay, now moving on. Now see, when it comes to the VPN tunnel, if you want to ensure that your phase 1 is up. So if your phase 1 is not up, it says connecting, or it is trying to create a connection and doesn't do anything else. Move on to the step 4, which is analyze phase 4. And what is the phase 4 analysis? You guys, okay, just give me a random guess. What do you think is analyze phase 1? Give me a random guess. What do you think when we say analyze phase 1? What do you think we'll do over there? Absolutely correct. Debugging the phase 1. Okay, not just the PSK. PSK is just part of it, but debugging phase 1. Okay, that means message 1, message 2, message 3, message 4, message 5, message 6. Basically all the messages to figure out where the problem is. if anywhere the problem is, it will show only there and it will stop. Okay. So, okay. Guys, 1 second. I got some messages. Okay. 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 Coming back. So if it says no, connecting, we need to do certain troubleshooting. If it says connection is established, then we need to look into the step 5. Okay. And then what are the commands that we can use, which is called as diagnose VPN IK gateway list. Now, before I move ahead, let's understand the first couple of steps which we have already gone through. Step 2 is called as phase 2 is up or not. If your phase 2 is not up, go on to the step 3. So let's understand step 2 and then we'll move on to step 3. So you say that yes, the tunnel is up, but the traffic is not passing. Okay. Then what command should I use? It says diagnose VPN tunnel list name. Okay, let's look over here. Now see, we have a Fortigate firewall, Fortigate 1 and Fortigate 2. Okay. Now Fortigate 1, you can call it as site A. Fortigate 2, you can call it as site B. Okay. Now let's log into the firewalls. Guys, give me a quick yes or no about whether this is making sense to you or not. Any questions, any problem, any confusions, anywhere, you let me know. Okay, so sorry. So let me show you. Okay, so we have the tunnel up and running, and we have a tunnel up and running over here as well. Great. So I'll go into the dashboard. The first thing that you guys need to do, regardless of whether your tunnel is working or not working, you make sure that you have a monitor in place. Okay. Now monitor basically is you can click on add monitor and then you can come over here. Okay. And from here you can look for IPSEC. There you go. Click on this, add, and that's it. Now see, you will be able to find out now how many tunnels you have. That's a different story. And but over here you will be able to find out whether the traffic is incoming and outgoing or not, or whether you have a problem with incoming and outgoing or not, whether you are just sending the traffic and not receiving anything, or you are receiving the traffic and not sending anything. Okay. I mean, there are so many situations and scenarios which can happen on a VPN tunnel, and believe me, I can create at least 25-30 situations and scenarios. Okay. So guys, as I said, if you guys have questions, put it up. Okay. Put it up in the chat box, your question. If the question is something which I would be able to explain right now, I'll do it. If something probably needs to be taken little, I'll do that as well. But put your question. Okay. So this is the place where you will be able to monitor all your VPN tunnels. One. Now let's move and look into, you say the traffic is passing. Okay, yes, it's happening with in our case as well, the traffic is passing. But how will I check this information? Because see, end of the day, you need to understand one thing more. When it comes to VPN tunnel troubleshooting, you should know what is the expected behavior. You should know in the logs what is the right way of looking into the information. If we have the right understanding of the working behavior, again, I'm saying, if you have the right understanding of the working behavior, then non-working will automatically will make sense to you. But if you do not know working behavior, then even if you're troubleshooting, you'll not know what is normal, what is not normal, what is expected, what is not expected. Right. So ensure you know the difference between working and non-working. Okay. So let me go ahead and log into and show you. So see, this is the virtual PC which I'm right now running, and it's having an IP address of 10.10, which is it is pinging. And over here, let me show you. Hold on. Yeah. See, this is the IP address 10.10.10.10. Where is this IP address? See, 10.10 is somewhere over here. Hold on. Okay. So 10.10.10.10 is over here. This is virtual PC 5 and virtual PC 6 is 20.20. Okay, clear? So what I'm doing is I'm actually pinging from virtual PC 6 to virtual PC 5. So I'm pinging from 20.20.20.10 to 10.10.10.10. And that's actually working. So if I do ping, great, working. Now I know it's a working behavior. Now I know that the tunnel is up, phase 1, phase 2, all of them. And routing and each and every device is basically working as the way it is supposed to. Now, when you see the logs, you will know what is the working behavior. When you understand the working behavior, non-working issues will automatically make sense to you. Let's move on to that. Let's go ahead and log into the site P. Okay, now what was the command? Let's look into the command again. Diagnose VPN tunnel list name. Okay, let's see. So I'll go ahead and say diagnose VPN tunnel list. See, now one of the good things about the Fortigate firewall is that if in case you're not sure about the command or something you're missing out, or you're not remembering correctly, you just put a question mark. So it will tell you that what other syntaxes that you can use to complete the whole configuration. Okay. I'll say name. Now again question marks. It says ARG. ARG basically means you need to put up the name. I do not know that. So one of the ways is you just hit enter. Diagnose VPN tunnel list. Now see, this command is going to give you a list of all the VPN tunnels. Now let's say you have 3-4 tunnels. Then it's fine. You will be able to see all the those lists. But let's say you have 15, 20, or let's say 50 tunnels. Then it will be a very, very big list. That's the reason you put the name as well. That's the reason. Okay. Now see, for example, I'll go ahead and do this name and I'll say 2. Now guys, this is case sensitive. So you need to ensure that you are putting the right name. Otherwise it won't come up. Now see, it did come up for me. If I would have not given the right name, see, it says 0. And you must be thinking, why is it not showing up? Which happens, sometimes in the heat of the moment. These examples, very small stuff, but you need to make sure that you do not do any case sensitive mistakes. Okay. Again, now let's deep dive into the commands. Again, this is some NEC 7 level stuff. So if it makes sense to you, great. If it does not make sense to you, you stop me there. You put the question in the chat box. Okay. Now, some of you have asked the questions, which I feel you must have already got the answers. A couple of them are still missing. I'll take those answers a little later. So now see, this is the question. This is the command, diagnose VPN tunnel list and the name of the tunnel. It gives you a lot of information. Now let's figure out those information. Okay, let's see. Now see over here, a couple of things that you would be able to see, which is, first of all, the name. Yeah, that's there. Okay. You will also be able to understand information about how much M2 is being used in this, because whenever you have performance issues in the VPN tunnels, the first thing which we check is actually the MTU. Okay. Now, another thing, it says DPD link on. What is DPD? Any idea? Give me a quick guess. Give me a quick full form of this. DPD. What is this? Any guesses? DPD is dead peer detection. Dead peer detection. What is this? Dead peer detection is nothing but saying hi, hello. Okay. So if you have 2 FortiGate firewalls, okay. I have 2 FortiGate firewalls. Okay. Now, in the tunnel itself,
some hello packages will be going. These hello packets are nothing but your dead period detection. This is just to understand whether you are having a live firewall on the other side or not. Okay, that's it. So if it says DPD on, that means your dead period detection, you are checking whether the other firewall is there or not. Okay, next. Over here also, do you see DPD mode on? Okay, over here also it basically does the same thing. Now, this is very important. Anything which is highlighted is a little important. Okay, any keyword which is highlighted is a little important. So when it says source and destination over here, I know what are my interesting traffic. Okay, people who are coming from Cisco terminology, you must be knowing what is interesting traffic. What is interesting traffic? Put it up in the chat box. Correct. LAN traffic, original traffic, real traffic, you name it. I mean, there are multiple names given to that, but basically end of the day, it is our actual LAN traffic and user machine IP. That's it, to keep it simple enough. Okay, so you know that when it comes to site B, okay, where I am right now, I have a VPN tunnel which is going to site A. Okay, for this, the source is 20.20.20.0. Getting it? So that means if so, it basically what does this mean? I'm going a little slow, so bear with me. I am over here, sitting over here, and it says source 20.20, confirmed. Destination 10.10, confirmed. Okay, this is information that you're able to fetch from the log itself. I'm not even showing up something which is irrelevant. It's just that what if you do not have a topology? I mean, in the real environment, it's not that you'll have a topology right in front of you. Either you should have it memorized, or if you do not have it and you need to figure it out, the best way is this. Okay, moving on. Okay, now we know what is the source, what is the destination, where I am, where am I going to, okay, and what could be the source and destination according to those locations. Okay, then next, see, this is something which is although to be honest, you guys do not need to troubleshoot or make any kind of working on this, because these are encryption and decryption keys. These encryption and decryption keys are very unique and something which is derived from in the firewall itself. So even you cannot do anything about this. You just need to ensure that these encryption and decryption keys are being used. This is only helpful for the Fortinet tag L3 people who are, what do you say, generating bug reports if they found out some issues in the operating system itself. So when it comes to us, as in Fortinet tag L1, L2, or implementation engineers, network administrators, L2s and L3s in the industry itself, you do not really need to worry about this. Okay, now look over here. I do have a gateway as well, and I got to know what gateway is this. Okay, so 32.1 is the gateway. Now let's look into the diagram once more. Okay, 172.16.32.1. Okay, very good. Do you see this? I am in site B, and it says to go into the site A, your next hop is 32.1. So how much information I got to know? I got to know 32.1 as what is my gateway. I got to know about my interesting traffic. I got to know about the M2s. I got to know about the DPD links. I got to know about whether this is correctly configured or not, at least from site B perspective. Okay, one is that. Now see, when we say wait, because there, see, if you look over here, there are so many information, and not every information is something which needs to be explained or needs to be worked upon. But wait equals to 1 basically means that when you are troubleshooting VPN tunnels, I mean, this is one of the simplistic VPN tunnels where you have just a VPN tunnel between two firewalls. But what if you have, let's take up a situation, 1 second. Guys, I'm drifting a little bit, but just for a minute. Okay. So let's say we have this Fortigate firewall, and this Fortigate firewall is connected to the ISP. Then we have this Fortigate firewall and one more firewall. We have one more firewall. Okay. You have one more link. This is called as ISP1. This is called as ISP2. Now, one tunnel is going towards this, okay, from your ISP1. Another tunnel is also going up to your ISP tunnel, okay. Now, when this comes up, you need to understand, or you need to tell your FortiGate firewall which tunnel to prefer and which tunnel to keep it aside if in case something goes wrong. So there are multiple ways to handle that. You have sd-wan, you have cost, you have priorities. Weight is one of them. Okay, you have priorities, you have cost, you have sd-wan, and you have VPN. Wait. So that means which one to prefer in what situation or a scenario. Okay, the first thing is always preferred as the VPN, then your sd-wan, then your cost, then your priority. So basically, a VPN weight will be taken first, then the sd-wan. So basically, it is talking about the interface, sd-wan interface. Okay. Then cost of that, whatever interface that you're working with, and the priority of it. So it goes like this. Okay. Now, this is what, so the command which we just mentioned, that's the command where you're able to see the weight. Okay. And the information about the sd-wan, basically you will have to execute the sd-wan command, which is diagnose system sd-wan status. So from there, you will be able to see what is the sd-wan priority list as well. Okay, 1 second. Now, see, this information you will be able to get from here. Okay. Now, what information we got from over here from this particular command was to ensure that the configuration from at least the phase 2 perspective, from the interesting traffic perspective, whether that was correct or not. What else information that we need to understand, or what else we need to check? Now, let's move on to the configuration of your Fortigate firewall. What we have understood from the command in itself is something which is sufficient enough to, you know, get a clear understanding of whether your configuration is fine or not. But even then, let's say, for example, you are a guy who understands more from the GUI and not from the CLI, let's say. So you can do that as well. You need to go into the VPN tunnel. Okay, click on over here, edit this up. Okay, and these are your phase 2 selectors. Okay, it says to site B and to site B remote, site B local and site B remote. So if I do click on edit, okay, there is an address group site B local and site B remote. So if I go into the address groups now, there you go, site B local and site B remote. Okay, it has site B local subnet and site B remote subnet. There you go. That's the same information which I got from the CLI, although it was a little quick. In GUI, it is still there, but then it is just about a preference of, do you want it from the GUI or do you want it from the CLI? Both are fine. There's no as such right or wrong over here. It's just a preference. Fortigate being one of the firewalls where your CLI and GUI are very close to having the right information in place. But what I mean is there are certain things, 10% of 20% of things which can only be available in the CLI. Rest 80%, everything what you can see in the GUI, you will be able to see it from the CLI, and vice versa. Is it recommended to create address groups? It is recommended to create address groups because, again, in a lab environment, I just took one single IP address, or let's say one single subnet. But in general realistic environments, most of the time you must have 10.0 network, 30 dot, 40 dot, 50 dot, or let's say 4-5 network segments or even more. So point is, either you call single individual address objects, but you won't be able to do it in the VPN. Okay. For that reason, you need to create groups and you put all your network address segments. If 1, fine, 10, fine. Why? Because you're putting up your groups over here. Okay. All right, moving on. Now, let's say, for example, the configuration which we saw on the phase 2 was sufficient enough. We understood that the tunnel's configuration is there. But then, let's say, for example, rather than saying an answer of yes, your answer is actually no, that no, my phase 2 is not coming up. Then what do you think? Or then what do you would have to go for? In this case, we again have to look into the no state, whether continuing to step 4. We'll take that a little later. But if it is yes, it is getting established, then we need to go into the stage 5. But what if I have to show, or what I have to see in the debugs? What if I have to see the messages which is coming onto your phase 1, just to understand whether it is working or not? Okay. So if that's the case, let's see. So no, connecting phase 1. So analyze phase 1. Let's see what the phase 1 says. Okay. Couple of questions you need to ensure that you ask yourself whenever you have these phase 1 issues in the VPN. 1, is there any other device upstream to the firewall? In 90% of the case, of course, yes. In 90% of the case. Second, is the VPN gateway configured to use the correct outgoing interface? Yes. So is your interface which is being used over here, is it correct or not? Okay. How will I confirm that? How will I confirm that? VPN gateway configured to use, is it the correct outgoing interface or not? How will I confirm that? Anybody? Any guesses? So let me show you first of all from the CLI. So the command is get a router info, routing table details. You put this command and then you put up whatever IP address that you want to go to. So in our case, it's 20. So sorry, I'm on site B. So site B, I already have 20. I mean, that's my source. So for me, the destination is 10. So I'll say 10.10.10.10. Okay. Now let's see what this says. It says routing table for VRF0. This is basically the default routing table entry for your Fortigate firewall. VRFs is something which is can be taken up for a later case, because VRFs in itself is a very, very big topic. Anyways, routing table, and it says you are looking for 10.10.10.0. I do have a network segment for that, and there is 2 routes that I have for this. One is static, and it is called as null. Another routing entry which I have for 10.10.10.0 is known via static. Again, distance is 10, metric is 10, and this is the tunnel. Okay, so over here, what we are able to see is that this particular IP address is taking your VPN tunnel IP. Not the VPN tunnel IP, but it's taking your VPN tunnel. So this is one of the ways to understand whether your whether your destination, or whether the resource that you're trying to access, or whether the resource that your users are trying to access, are they are they able to connect with the right interface? One, is the Fortigate mapping the destination with the right interface? Is it the VPN interface? If it is the VPN interface, then is it the right VPN interface? It could have been some other VPN tunnels also. Let's say if I have site A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and I have, let's say, 10 VPN tunnels, then in my case, it should go to site A, not site C, D, E, or F. So by this particular command, I would be able to see that information. So this command is very much important. Write this down. Okay. So Vinay, if you have a question, you put your question in the chat box. Okay. So get router info, routing table details. Okay. This command basically helps you understand whatever destination that you're trying to access. Okay. That particular IP address, is it going through the right interface or not? Okay. Okay. Satish, question?
हेलो
Yeah.
सर, ये जो 10.10 का जो सबनेट है सर, ये मेरा डेस्टिनेशन है सर जहाँ मैं पिन कर रहा हूँ.
See, we are in site B, right? So guys, the question is that this 10.10, what is this? See, I'm going to site B, right? I'm at site B. Let me show you. I'm over here. Fortigate 2. This is site B for me. I'm directly connected to 20.20. So who's my destination? 10.10, right?
10.10.10.
Yeah. So what I'm trying to do over here is that I'm trying to understand from the firewall that if I'm sitting over here and I'm trying to access 10.10, is it going through the VPN tunnel or not? Okay. So if it shows me 172.32.32.1 as the interface, then I know something is wrong. Rather than this, it should show me VPN tunnel, the VPN IP address, which is in our case. So the working behavior is that you should always see the tunnel IP. This is the tunnel IP. How do we know this? Here, site A. What is site A? Site A is the name of the tunnel. Let's say, for example, from CLI, it becomes difficult to understand. So let's see from the GUI.
सर क्वेश्चन
One second,
बेसिकली
let me
आपने जो बोला था एड्रेस ग्रुप के बारे में कि एड्रेस ग्रुप हमें क्रिएट करना ही होगा.
look in 1 second.
ओके.
So Satish, now what do we need to do over here is go into the static routes. There you go. You see this? Site A. This is VPN tunnel, right? And this is the address object which is used to move the traffic. Clear? Yes, no?
Yes.
Okay. Loken, बोलो.
सर जैसे हमारे पास
बोलो लोकेन.
हाँ जैसे हमारे पास दोनों साइड्स पे 5 नेटवर्क्स हैं. ठीक है.
हाँ.
क्लियर है. मान लीजिए कि ABCDE और EFGH या 10.10.1.0 2.0 3.0 4.0 और उस साइड है 192.168.1.0 2.0 3.0 और 4.0. ठीक है. अब सर ये हमें एड्रेस ग्रुप क्रिएट करके इसमें कर सकते हैं. अगर यहाँ पे मान लीजिए फोर्टिगेट और इधर FTD है.
ओके.
हाँ या ASA फायरवॉल है दूसरी साइड में, तो हम यहाँ पे एड्रेस ग्रुप क्रिएट करके कर सकते हैं कि हमें अलग अलग ही बनाने पड़ेंगे.
See that. So okay guys, the question is basically, what if I have multiple address segments on both the sides and the other side is not a FortiGate firewall, let's say it's a different firewall altogether, Palo, Checkpoint, or whatever it is, then do I still have to do the same configuration for the address objects? Yes, of course. See, because as I said, in the VPN tunnel configuration, you do not select address object, you select address group, right? The reason of having the address group is this only, that what if you have multiple segments to call? If that's the case, you would be able to call them in one single address group. And does not matter whether the other side is Palo Alto or Checkpoint or FTD. Whatever it is, does not really matter because you will have single group. That group will have all the address objects. Now,
Actually, sir, before this implementation.
One second.
Yeah.
So caveat is that whatever the other side is, because Palo Alto has a different way of configuring site to site. Your Checkpoint might have different thing, and your Cisco would have a different way. If I'm sending these address objects, these guys should be able to understand this as well. That okay, 4 address objects or 4 network segments are being used. If they are able to understand that, then there's no point of creating anything else. This is sufficient enough. Yes, look and tell me.
Yes, actually, before this implementation, we have a checkpoint firewall from the beside the FortiGate. So we are creating all the subnet separately.
Because the checkpoint does not understand that.
Yeah. So 1.0 is 1.0, source is 1.0, destination is 5.0, source is 1.0, destination 6.0, source 1.0, 7.0. Means we have 3 into 3, 9 subnets.
So you must
So,
be naming them as site B 1.0, then site B 2.0, 3.0, something like this. Naming convention should be something
naming convention
that
issue also we have, because we are not, we cannot give the same name again and again.
right. Yeah, so this is again, this is something which is a product issue, which is something which needs to be taken from that particular product itself. Now, let's say if you have another firewall which does not understand the, I mean, which does not understand this, it only takes one single subnet at a time. Then in those cases, there's no other way. You need to create separate VPN tunnels for each network segment.
Okay.
Yeah. Another
So it's
question from Vinay
It
is,
works.
yes,
it
Hi,
works
go
sir.
ahead.
perfectly. Actually, right now we this Fortigate firewall is a standalone firewall. We are not we are not plugging this firewall in the rack. This is
Hmm.
a standalone firewall.
Hmm.
So I'm just asking this thing, that it's a right way, or it will be working or not in this way.
That's okay. This is not a problem. It is something, again, the changes that you're doing is because the way the other firewall is behaving. The recommended way from the FortiGate point of view is basically regardless of whatever segments you have, 1 or 10, you create a group and you add that group. It makes configuration easy to understand and simple from the firewall's perspective and also from troubleshooting perspective.
Yes, you are saying right, but sir, I'm just asking from you that if I'm doing this thing right now, means as you explain this thing like address group, so I can do this, or we need to do it
Yeah.
separately?
No, this is what you need to do. Create address widget separately and create the tunnels.
Okay.
Because the other way, there's no other way because your checkpoint won't be able to understand. Sorry, your FTD won't be able to understand that.
Yes, so we need to do it separately now.
Yes, correct.
Thank you.
No problem.
Hi, sir. So I have one question actually.
Hmm.
So regarding you showed was only one addressing book of the troubleshooting. For
Uh-huh.
example, 10.10.10.10. But I have the another LAN segment like 20.20.20. How do I find out that outside also traffic is going or not in the site B?
See, the first thing from the phase 2 perspective is that you need to, use the same command which we used over here. Okay. And see whether the address objects are over here mentioned or not. So you will see all the list of all the address objects. So
Yes,
right
yes.
now I'm just using single, so it will just showing up there. But let's say you have 3, 4 address objects in source and destination, it will list out all those over here. Okay.
Yes,
Next line of troubleshooting is if you see all of them over here, but you still have problem with accessing them, take a packet capture for that particular segment to see whether the traffic is going through the tunnel or not. You can do this also. Let's say you have 10.10, then you have 11.11, 12 or 13 or 14, whatever it is. So you use this configuration, and for every case, you should see via tunnel.
So this is for the firewall reaching the tunnel, correct, right? So that's 172.16.31.32.1 is a firewall inside gateway is reaching.
That's the next hop for the firewall.
Yes, sir. Next.
So
But
basically what I'm saying
inside
is, yes, go ahead.
the firewall is inside LAN, uh, for example, your destination is 20 dot sorry 10.10 dot right. So I have the another address is there for 7.7 something, it will be there 172.16 dot something IP address is there. So the same routing table I can give that.
See, again, as I said
So
that
it is
regardless
reaching to
of,
here the firewall first.
go ahead.
No, it's reaching to this hub, correct, right, sir? This reaching to this site A hub. So after that, the system is reaching to that particular of IP address or particular of switches. So how do I find out it's a pinging or not? The port tree is a LAN IP, LAN address, correct, right? So,
The first line of troubleshooting is basically to understand whether the configuration point of view is correct or not. One, okay, because if the configuration is not correct, then there's no point of troubleshooting further. First, configuration. You use this command, you'll get to know whether the configuration is correct or not. One, then check the same thing from the GUI. Two, then look for step 3, which is your get router info routing table. Then mention all those segments. Okay, if you have 4 segments, you mention all those 4 segments one by one. 10.10.10, 5.5.5, 7.7.7, one by one.
If you have put one by one also, it's showing for the gateway, and the next up gateway only it will be show. Correct, right? So,
It should always show you the tunnel.
tunnel.
Same
Tunnel
tunnel.
gateway. Same
Yes.
tunnel gateway. Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
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 That's the third line of troubleshooting. So this way, you have confirmed that at least from the configuration point of view, there's no problem with it. Okay. Now the next level of troubleshooting is if you are trying to ping and you're not getting a mute yourself, Vinay. So let's say you're trying to ping 10.10, this IP address. Okay. And still you're not getting a ping back. The next level of troubleshooting is your packet capture, okay, which will show you whether you are receiving the traffic or not. So if you're sending ICMP request, are you receiving the ICMP request or not? Okay. So if you're not receiving the ICMP request, there's no point of troubleshooting in your location or site B location. There's no point of troubleshooting over there, because you're not receiving the traffic. When you're not receiving the traffic, then you need to look onto the other site, your site A. What should be the troubleshooting on the site A? Are you receiving the traffic or not? When you are sending the ICMP request, are you receiving the ICMP request on the other side or not? Are you able to follow me?
Sorry, sir.
So when the ICMP request basically goes from here, okay, you took a capture over here, and you saw that, okay, the traffic is actually taking the tunnel. Okay, ICMP out, but no response. Then there's no point of troubleshooting anything over here. You jump on to the next. You come over here. You take a packet capture. What is the first thing that you should be seeing? Are you, or is this firewall sending the ICMP request to this user system or not? If it is not even sending, I mean, now again, there are 5 situations that can happen. I won't be able to dig deep into all those situations, but just to list out, first, is your firewall policy configured correctly or not? Is your route configured or not? Okay. Is your connectivity to the user is there or not? Okay. Then connectivity after that, is this system receiving the ICMP request or not? You need to take a capture over here as well. Then if it is receiving, then is it sending the response or not? If it is sending, is the firewalls receiving the response? Because there must be a switch over here as well, right? Switch, or maybe an L3 switch, whatever. That's why I'm saying, are you receiving the ICMP request, and are you sending the ICMP response? So if this communication is happening properly, then the next thing is the same response. Is the same response getting forwarded or not? Now I know response is not getting forwarded, so I know the problem is somewhere over here. Are you with me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So this is the 5 things that you need to check, and you will be able to figure out where the problem is, regardless of whatever the situation is. It could be for 1 user also, it could be for 100 user also. Troubleshooting will remain the same.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Now, see, the next thing is we checked the configuration. We understood that, the tunnel was, the tunnel is actually going through the right interface. Yes. Lokendra, ye taking it up. Yes, this is the case for when you have your phase 2 up, but your traffic is not working, or you are not able to ping or access whatever your resources is. Okay. Now see, the next fourth step is what we just discussed. Take a packet capture to see. Okay. If all these things fail and you're not 100% sure that what's the problem, then you go for something which is called as diagnose debug application, IKE. IKE is basically your messages, your main mode messages, and whether the negotiation is happening correctly or not. Now again, this troubleshooting, the step 4 troubleshooting, analyze phase 1, is only, and when you execute these commands, only when you are 100% sure that your phase 1 is not negotiating, it is not working at all. Okay. Now let me go about over here.
सर एक क्वेश्चन था, अगर फेज 2 अप है तो फेज 1 तो अप ही होगा ना?
Phase 2 troubleshooting was different, which I was discussing about Vinay. This I came back to, the step 4, which we were working with phase 1 issues. So yes, in a way, yeah, if your phase 2 is there, your phase 1 of course will be there. I am saying in a situation where your phase 1 is not coming up, then what you need to do. Okay, so diagnose, debug, application, IKE -1. Diagnose, debug, enable. Okay, and I'm going to run this command. Before I do this, let me go into the Fortigate 1 side. And one thing over here also. Let me stop the packet capture. Okay. I'll flush the VPN tunnel so that the tunnel breaks and then it will reconnect itself. Okay, so diagnose VPN. Oh, sorry. Guys, give me a quick yes or no. Are you guys with me? Are you able to follow? Any questions, any doubts?
Yes, with you. We are following.
Okay, good. This is the command, diagnose VPN tunnel flush. Prof, how are you? Long time.
Fine. Yes.
Okay, so diagnose VPN tunnel flush. This basically is the command which will basically flush out all your VPN tunnels. So we'll do this.
It will affect existing connections.
Yes, it will stop those connections.
So we should not do corporate level running.
No.
The peak time.
These troubleshootings are not something which you do on a daily basis. This is when you need to take a downtime and we do this then. There are other ways of doing this as well, which is diagnose VPN.
But when we do it, will disconnect and connect back automatically. No effect later on.
No.
सर अगर हमारे पास टनल्स मल्टीपल हैं तो हम उसको मतलब हम ऐसा कमांड चलाएं जैसे डायग्नोस आपने चलाया ना, डायग्नोस वीपीएन एप्लीकेशन -1, तो इसके अंदर कुछ ऐसा हो सकता है जिससे हम स्पेसिफिक टनल के लिए वो चलाएं, क्योंकि मान लीजिए हमारे पास फोर्टिगेट पे वी हैव मल्टीपल टनल्स इन द फोर्टिगेट फायरवॉल, सपोज 5 to 10 टनल्स। तो अगर हम ये कमांड चलाएंगे तो शायद सभी का ही वीपीएन फेस 1 हमें शो होगा फोर्टिगेट पे, तो वो ट्रबल शूटर।
If you just run this command, diagnose diagnose VPN tunnel flush, this means it's going to flush everything. But if you say flush and then you name the tunnel, so even if you have 5-10 tunnels, it will only going to flush that specific tunnel that you have. Okay. Now I'm going to execute. I'm going to do this once more. Diagnose debug application IKE -1. Okay, diagnose debug enable. Okay, now this is done. Let's try to give a ping once more. So now this is classic, right? I mean, it's been 10-12 years. I don't know how much, but this has been classic, right? First one times out, second one comes out. What's the reason? This much you should know. What is this? Why the first times out?
ARP.
Okay. What else? What else? Yeah.
Sorry, can you repeat again
keep on.
question?
The first packet timed out, the rest 4 packets came in. Why? Why the first packet timed out? Okay. When I says it's
Synchronize.
APT, okay.
Okay.
Keep it coming. Keep it coming. Put it up in the chat. Keep it coming. I'm reading all these messages here. Okay. Okay. Correct. R. Okay. Yeah. Mostly got all the answers. So yeah. So one of, I mean, leaving couple of you, most of you have given the right answer, which is ARP, because ARP negotiation happens, then the tunnel gets negotiated. In all these things, the first packet drops. Okay. So, and it is not just with the Fortigate, by the way, it's with Cisco as well. So don't blame the firewall. Let's move on and let's see what has happened on to the Fortigate firewall. Oh my God, that's a lot of. Okay, so I'll try to quickly. I mean, I have, I think, some more time. Okay. Anyways, moving on. So now see what you are seeing over here is basically your messages with respect to the tunnels that you are trying to negotiate with the traffic between. So it says traffic triggered. The traffic which got triggered was for source 20.20.20.10, destination 10.10.10.10. Great. First level of information which I got to know is that information is, or the source or the interesting traffic is this. Okay, great. Moving on to the next one. It says, I found the configuration. So the firewall understood and it got to know what configuration it has for the VPN. It has information for this. Okay. So it says, I found the configuration and there is a security association and the information will be between 172.32.32.1 to between 172.16.32.1. Who are these people? And who are these people? Give me a quick put it up in the chat box. What is 2020 10.10? What is this? What kind of traffic is this? Interesting. Yeah. Pavan, not the source and destination. In a way, yes, you're saying it right, but this is a more technical terminology. Again, from an interview point of view, make sure that you're using the right technical terminology so that it impresses your interviewer as well, because someday or another you will be facing that guy, right? So let's try to make sure that we are impressing him. So who is this guy? What are these two IP addresses? 172.32.30.1, 16. Now see, I am trying to push you guys to look into the CLI and the commands and the debug outputs from the CLI. That's how you prepare yourself for the NEC 4 and NEC 7, right? What is this? 172.32.32.1 and 172.16.32.1. Correct. Lehang, if I'm pronouncing your name correctly, I'm sorry if I'm not. But yes, that's the right information. These are your gateways. These are your gateways. Okay. 32.32.1 and 172.16.32. These are your gateways. Okay. If you need to know which, let me quickly give you a glimpse.
Gateway for both sites?
Yes.
Both location?
16.32.1. Okay. So these are the two IP address which we just saw. These are the gateways for each other between the site to site tunnel. Okay. Moving on. Okay. Generate DH public value request queued. Okay. Tell me what message is this? Message 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What? What is this? Let me see how many of you know technically what is a main mode. What is this? What message is this? Generate DH public value request. Right. Very few answers. Okay. Go ahead, find out. Not I'm not giving you the answers right over here. No Maggie noodles. You know me, most of you. So no Maggie noodles over here. DH public, what message is this? Go into, do a Google search for main mode messages, look at it and let me know what is that. Okay, put it up in the chat box itself. That's fine. Look, and I got to know what's the full form, but what message is this? Which message? 1, 2, 3, 4, which one? Okay, put it up in the chat box when you get the answer. Okay, moving on. Next. This was done. Then it says to site A. Okay, where am I right now? I am in site B. It says to site A. Okay. Initiator. What is initiator? Again, a very something which we have heard. Something which we have heard. Initiator and responder. What is an initiator? What is a responder? Well, if I'm being if I'm trying to be a little, what do you say? I mean, simply initiator is the guy who initiates. Responder is the guy who responds. Okay, it's as simple as that. Initiator is basically the guy who is sending the traffic the first time, and responder is the guy who is just responding to whatever the request came in. So if it is matching those criteria, then I will go ahead and respond, and if it is not, then I'll not. So over here, I'll know that who is the initiator. Site A is the initiator. I am sitting on site B. So what makes site B? Are you with me or not, guys? Give me a quick yes or no. Quick yes or no.
Yes, yes.
Okay. So your site B is the responder. Okay. Just by looking into the message, I got to know this information. Now, again, this is what your tag does as well. That's what I used to do when I was in Fortinet tag. And that's what basically every tag guy does. And that's what every L3 in every company or organization also does. Okay. If you're not there and you're doing it, great. Sometime, someplace you will be there in the L3 position as well. But point over here is that this basically gives us the information about where am I, what kind of negotiation is happening right now. Now, what is this? Question for you once more. What message is this? Now, people who are working with FortiGate firewalls, I expect you to know CCNA, right? So what message is this and what does this basically mean? Now, if you do not know from the FortiGate's perspective, that's okay. But this is something, in a way, this is key.
IK exchange key, I think encrypt to the keys.
How many keys are being sent, in a main mode?
2.
What are those?
ACA, security, and another bidirection.
There is something which is called as a public key, correct?
Yes, sir.
And then the another one is called as?
Another one is called as shared key, shared secret key.
Now, which one of this is called as the shared key?
Shared key means private key.
See, you can call it as shared key. You can call it as public key. It remains the same. What you can share cannot be private. From a communication perspective, something which can be shared is of course not private. It is something which is public, right? Because that's why you're sharing it, right? So, for example, library, is it private or is it public?
Public.
Public. That's why it is shared. People can come, people can share their books, correct? So you call it shared, you call it public, you're basically calling the same thing. Private. Now, tell me, guys, it's a tricky answer. Sorry, trick question. When or which message your private key gets shared? Which message in the main mode? Put it up in the chat box. in which main mode message you share the private key. Okay, got an answer. Couple of you are saying, sorry. Couple of you are saying basically it's a password. Fine. What message in the main mode? Message 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Which one? Correct. Now see, very good answer. Private is not shared. I just told you, right? It's a trick question. I just told you, public is something which is shared, and shared is something which is always public. So just as a library, when you mute yourself. So private key is something which is not shared at all. Private key is never shared. It's there with the firewall itself, but it is never shared. Okay. So even if that's why even if your PSK gets compromised, then the tunnel gets compromised, but it dissolves that particular tunnel and it will not be used. So point is that that's the reason of, I mean, we can go into this for a different session altogether of how the pre-shared keys, symmetric keys, cryptography works and what's the reason and the logic behind it. But just to keep it simple and to the point over here, you make sure your private key is with yourself and public is something which gets shared. So this is something which is that public. Okay, moving on to the next. When you do, send this information, look over here, send IKE message, quick I1 send. What does this basically mean? Just try to understand this from a, from the English language perspective. You are saying send IKE a message. Which message? Quick message. So if I'm saying quick message, that means where am I? Phase 1 or phase 2? Phase 2. Okay. I1 send first message of your second phase. Quick. How many messages quick mode has, by the way, guys? Put it up in the chat box. How many messages does the quick mode has? Okay. Great. So which one is this? First one. Okay. Now let's move into the. It says 172.32.1 colon, and it says 500. So there are basically 3 messages in the quick mode. Okay, guys, people are saying 2. No, it's 3 messages. Okay, so just make sure that today by the end of the session, just try to go about main mode and quick mode of the IPSEC VPN. It will really help you out from a theoretical point of view. Now see, what does this basically mean? What is this? Tell me in the chat box. What is this? I know what this is. We just got to know. We got to know these are gateways. Fine. What is this? Okay, it's UDP. All right. Some of you are saying it's UDP. Some of you are saying it's UDP port. Fine. What does this signify? What does this signify? What does this port 500 signifies? Okay, write down a homework for all of you. What is port 500 signifies? And what are the other ports that can be used? Okay, and why? That's your homework, and I want you guys to type it below. What are those and why have they used? Okay, moving on to the next. So basically over here you are saying 172.16.32.1 traffic 500 and 172.32.32.1 500. So I know that the traffic is actually coming from site B, okay, and it is coming from site 2A. Sorry, okay, both of them are 500. Okay, now look, you're very close, but then still not the right answer. So next comes 172.32.1 500, goes to another one, IKE V1 exchange quick. Now what is this? How many of you know about a terminology called as PFS? Anybody? Yep. Just give me a yes or no. Do not explain. Just give me a yes or no. Do you know how much? How many of you know? How many of you know what is PFS? Or perfect forward secrecy? Okay. See, this is something from a VPN theoretical point of view. Now, I cannot go into the entire theory of it, but just to give you a glimpse of what it is, then you can go back, understand the theory, and then come back. Or I can probably take up another VPN session just on the theory itself. How does the concept of the VPN works, and what are the mechanics of it, so that this will make much more sense to all of you. PFS, in simplistic terms, is you are negotiating the keys once more. That's what you are doing right now. You are negotiating the keys once more. The keys that you got that you were negotiating in main mode, the DH algorithm, you're doing that again, but on phase 2, not on phase 1, but on phase 2. Why? Remember, I said that what if your shared key gets compromised, right? To make sure that the phase 2 never gets compromised, the negotiation for the keys happens again. And that's what it is called as perfect forward secrecy. That's what the word basically means. You're ensuring the secrecy is paramount over here while negotiating the keys once more inside the tunnel, so the tunnel becomes so strong that even if somebody tries to break it, they won't be able to break it. I was reading an article and it says person who is using AES 128 or AES 256, they need to have a supercomputer, and then that supercomputer needs to run for a couple of years before that particular key can be broken. Okay, so I'm not going and I'm not quoting it, but I'm saying if you have that kind of AES levels and AES 126 and 256, you can rest assured that the compromising factor won't happen. One thing, but the flip side is CPU and memory is something which takes a toll. So if you do not have a heavy firewall or a high-end firewall, it might increase your CPU and memory performance. Okay, so just take a note of it as well. Moving on to the next. Guys, give me a quick yes or no. Are you guys able to follow me till here? Is it making sense to all of you? Yes. Okay. I just want to make sure that it doesn't become a bouncer to all of you. So I'm trying to go slow as much as possible. Okay. Now see, once the negotiation happens for those as well, for people who for which this is becoming probably difficult to handle, it's because of the theoretical point of view from the VPN perspective. You should know, I mean, VPN messages, the 6 messages of the main mode and the quick mode should be on the tips of your fingers. If that's the case, it will not be a problem. But if it is not, it will be a problem. So maybe in the future, I can take up another session, maybe on the theoretical point of view, but to keep the interest of all the other people who are basically at the L2 level, and to ensure that this topic remains on the T-shoot perspective, I need to carry on this. Okay, next is the negotiation has already happened. The keys has already negotiated on the selectors as well. So I know that communication is happening. Now the next step for this is responders selectors. Responder basically means that the criteria or the configuration which you have done, I'll be able to see all those configuration over here. What is that information that you have sharing, or what is those cipher suits that you are sharing where the negotiation will happen? These are called as cipher suits. Again, a greater level of theoretical knowledge needs to be there to even understand what all these things basically means. Okay, I can go on and on about this, but then that session will basically become a 3-hour or 4-hour session. So keeping those things in mind, I'm not. Probably I can break this up And then you guys can, request maybe a theoretical session, then I can, take it as separate session. So it becomes easy for you also. If you just want to look into the theory part of it, you will have a session. If you just want to look into the lab part of it, you have a separate session out to it. Okay, so keeping those things in mind, I'm not digging deep dive into all these things. But 20.20.20.0 going to 10.10.10.0. Okay, so I know who is sending this. Side B is sending this. As I said in the beginning, side B is it initiator or is it responder? Side B was responder. Hence the reason it says responders selector. It never says initiator selector. It says responders selector. That means the person who is responding, the device who is responding, the selectors, the cipher suits for that are these. Remember I said PFS is being used. There you go. Do you see this? PFS DH group 14. Okay. IPSEC is using ESP protocol, and there are two protocols, ESP and EH. Okay. 90% of the time, it's always the ESP protocol which basically works. Okay. Next, these are the cipher suits. All the cipher suits that the firewall can support. Now, again, the cipher suits depends on the Fortigate model that you're using. If it is a lower end model, it might not use the higher end cipher suits. If it is a high end model, then of course it will use all the high end cipher suits as well. Okay, this is also one of the reasons and criteria to look at whenever you are trying to what do you call it? Initiate a VPN connection. Because if one of the device is a low end firewall and one of the device is a very high end firewall, there is a chance of negotiation getting failed. Reason, maybe one of the devices not supporting the cipher suit. Okay. Okay. So there's a question says if IPSEC have encryption 3 doesn't have encryption 3, then what should we do? See, as I said in the same, I think this is what I was explaining. You need to ensure that the cipher suit needs to have, or simple enough, your cipher suits should be same on the both sides. If you're using 3DES, it should be 3DES on both the sides. For some reason, 3DES is not supported, then whatever it is, whatever cipher suit that you're using, it needs to be there. If it is not, negotiation will fail. So make sure that whatever cipher suits that you're using needs to be, same on both the sides. Okay. Now look over here. What does it say? Incoming proposal. Now see, tell me one thing, or just think about it. Give it a minute. Think about this. Responder selectors. It's sending a big amount of cipher suits, and then incoming. It's, just a couple of them. Why? See, this guy is sending. This guy is choosing. Okay, this guy is sending. This guy is choosing. So basically, incoming proposal equals to 1. IPSEC ESP PF DH14, and these are the values which I'm actually selecting. So all the information that I was able to get from the top, I'm actually selecting all these things. Now it says schedule auto negotiate. Okay, compute DH shared secret request. So DH algorithm running, negotiation running, replay protection enabled. Now replay protection again is called as anti-replay protection. Anti-replay protection is again a part of theoretical point of view, but just to give you a one-liner, anti-replay protection basically means to authenticate and verify the sender. Means the sender should be the genuine person or the legitimate guy who is actually sending the traffic, and not some imposter who is trying to hijack the session and trying to portray himself as somebody else. Okay, so anti-replay protection is for that. Said. Okay, moving on. Now the next thing is the lifespan of the VPN tunnels over here. There'll be a little bit, up here, just a little variation of the seconds, but that's something which is not a deal breaker over here. Next is IPSEC SA selectors source 1 destination 1. What is source 1 destination 1? Remember then when we were having an example of what if I have 5 or 7 segments? Okay, so whatever segments you will be able to see it over here. If you have 5 sources but 1 destination, it will show up. If you have 5 sources, 5 destination, it will show up. whatever it is, it will show up over here. And it will then mention all those IP addresses as well, that what is that interesting traffic which is actually working. Now, again, what is this? What is all this, what we are discussing? This is working behavior. This is expected behavior. This is how the firewall should behave in an environment where everything is working the way it is supposed to. Now, tell me one thing. Why is it necessary? Remember what I said in the beginning. If you do not know what is the working behavior, you'll never know what is not working. You'll never know what is the problem. You'll never be able to pinpoint, or you will never be able to find out what's the problem or where the problem is. What do I need to look into the logs? Okay. This is the reason looking at a working set of logs becomes so much important. Okay. Moving on to the next. Again, these are the encryption and decryption keys, nothing for you guys to work, which needs to be worked upon. That's fine. From a working perspective, you can just make sure that, okay, negotiation is happening, because that means that there's no problem with the configuration point of view. Okay. Added IPSEC SA. Okay, cool. So this basically means, remember when I said in the beginning that the quick mode has how many security associations? You remember? Main mode has how many security associations? 1. BD, bi-directional. Quick mode has 2. Each unidirectional. Remember that? Do you see this? 1 is for sending. 1 is for receiving. Are you able to follow me? Give me a quick yes or no in the chat box. Right. So, quick mode, 2 security associations, both of them are unidirectional. There you go. 1 is sending, 1 is receiving. So this SPI, service parameter index, this is the SPI which basically is used on both the sides for sending and receiving the traffic. Okay. Look in, this is negotiation of the second phase. Okay. This second phase is what we are discussing right now. Phase 1 was on the top, where we were able to see the negotiation, the DH parameters, and the those things. Okay. So now we have moved on to that. Okay. SNMP, if you have configured, it will show up. Nothing, no deal breakers. Okay. Send IK message, quick, I2 second. Okay. So now this is basically the second message. I actually, this got timed out, so I'm so sorry for that. But point is, the second message is basically, ensuring that whatever we got selected over here, it is just sending that once more. I feel that's the case, because this information that we saw is actually the first second message. I'm not sure why is it saying second message once more. Maybe it got timed out, or maybe the the CLI something makes it fuzzy. And end of the day, these are VMs, right? So something happens, but it's not something like that. This communication, which is right now in front of us, this is what the negotiation happens when you get all the information from both sides. Okay. Moving on. So, wow, that's a lot. Lots needs to be covered up. See, one thing more, looking at your this, please look into this. Let me. Yes. So, done this. Messages. Okay. Now, when we say the phase 2 is down, it says confirm if the encryption and hashing algorithms match on both the receiver and the initiator. Now, see, if that was not the case, this would have never happened. Okay. The negotiation. So see over here, the negotiation is happening, the replay protection is happening, encryption keys is happening, the tunnel is got negotiated, the SPI keys gets generated. So we know that the configuration was basically perfectly done. So we were able to find out that information from the debug itself. Check if PFS is enabled or not. We got to know that as well. Let me show you. Yeah, there you go. PFS. Okay. Make sure if the quick mode selected interesting traffic is matching on both the units. Yes, that's one thing which needs to be done separately on both the firewalls. This is something we did got to know. 1 second. Yeah, there you go. we have this information, right? You need to log into the other firewall as well, and you need to see this as well, that this should be there exactly like this. This is called as mirror image. It's a Cisco terminology. Mirror image basically means that you need to ensure that both of them are in the firewalls. Next, if phase 2 is still not up, run the packet capture on port 500 and 4500 and with the below commands. What are the commands? Okay. Yeah. So see, these are the commands, the IKE, the one which we were running anyway, right? That with the packet capture, this is required when you are basically now if the problem is there, you need to open up a tag ticket to figure out what the problem is. But if you want to do it by your own, you can. But what I'll say is the best way is to create this in the lab. What we are doing right now, create this in the lab, run these captures. It's pretty simple and straightforward. Run these captures and commands, and you will be able to, I mean, the debug commands I've anyway explained you. Take a capture on this as well. By the way, I've already given you a homework, guys. Port 500, port 4500, what it is, why is it, and what are the situations where it will be used. These 3 answers I need from all of you. Okay. So let me know, because I'm actually waiting for your answers on this. Okay. Moving on to the next. This is very interesting, and this is something which comes up very frequently. Is your phase 2 is up, the tunnel negotiation. We just saw negotiation parameters and debugging from the Fortigate debugging commands. Now let's see and understand that what if your phase 2 is up, no problems in the configuration of your negotiation, but still the traffic is not passing. Then what will you do? Okay. So make sure the quick mode selector defined in phase 2 is configured properly to allow the traffic flow, which is having the issue. Quick mode selector. Quick mode selector basically means that the parameters that we have configured on both the sides, it needs to be the same. If it is not same, it won't work. 1. Check the IPv4 policies and confirm. Yes, absolutely. After your VPN configuration, the one of the most important and very critical configuration, which for a majority of the part creates a problem, is your firewall policies. If you have configured a firewall policy, keeping firewall stateful inspection in mind, that I'll have LAN to VPN firewall policy, and that's it. This won't work. 90% of the time, you will see one side you're able to ping, other side you're not able to ping. Why? VPN VPN tunnels are always bidirectional, so you need to create a firewall policy from the other side, from VPN to LAN. So you need to create LAN to VPN and then VPN to LAN. Let me show you. It will become easier for you to understand this. One second. If I log in. Now, see, if I go over here, you can specifically see you have 2 firewall policies. Okay, one from your site B local to site B remote, or in a simplistic way, let me show you. Incoming interface is port 3. Port 3 for me, who is it? Port 3 on both the sides is my LAN traffic, right? So port 3 is my LAN. Site B, I'm going to site B. What is site B? VPN tunnel. Look over here. Tunnel interface. Looking, Fortigate supports both. Okay, policy-based VPN as well, route-based VPN as well. Okay, so tunnel interface is something which is which you need to call on your routing interface, because this traffic is from your LAN traffic to your VPN. Now you need to create another firewall policy, which should be the vice versa, which is VPN to your LAN traffic. There you go. Do you see this? VPN to LAN. Reverse address objects configured over here. Okay. Pretty simple, straightforward. Nothing, nothing's complicated over here. But again, this is more about troubleshooting. So I'm not covering the FortiGate VPN configuration perspective or that point of view. So we can have a different session for that as well. Okay. So confirm the firewall policies. Okay, done, did that. If still the issue persists, so many questions. So many questions. Look over here. What does it say? If there is a, sorry, first one, enable packet capture for the remote peer IP address and set protocol 50. So basically what it's showing, it's saying over here is that if you still see packet not coming or response not coming, your traffic is there, your firewall policies is there, your configuration is there, your VPN internal is also is up and running, still it's not working. Packet capture, nothing else. You need to take a packet capture, and the same example which I told you in the in a couple of minutes back, that you need to take a packet capture, see where the ICMP request is going, and then a response back. Okay. 2 SSH sessions, where one will be for your debug flow and another will be for your tunnels. Okay, this information is something which is 90% of the time handled by TAC, and that's what we do as well. So I'm just sharing those information with you, that if in case situation comes up to that particular level, then debug flow packet capture is something which you need to work on. Okay, and nothing else would work. No amount of configuration troubleshooting will work. Packet capture will work, and you will have to take up that. I can have a separate session just on this particular specific step. I'll tell you why. Because this in itself, I can go about for at least 1-2 hours for each and every packet detail. I mean, I'll open up an ESP packet and probably I'll explain you each and every header into it, what it means, why do we need it, and what's the point of it. Okay, so that's why I'm not taking it, because I do not want to make it so complicated, because so that it becomes very difficult for you to understand. I don't want to make you guys overwhelmed with information over here. So this is the next level of troubleshooting which needs to happen. If still the issue persists, nothing, TAC, go with TAC. Or there's certain things which I've mentioned, but the best thing is go with TAC. Nothing, no other amount of troubleshooting that you should be doing. I'll tell you the reason why am I saying TAC. It's not, I'm not questioning, or I'm not judging you from your skill sets. If you have done all these things and still the problem is there, then the problem is something on the firewall itself. Could be an operating system problem, could be an ISP problem, could be another side, or maybe another vendor which could be a problem. So something which is not on the firewall itself, or something which is only a TAC person would know, an internal bug, or maybe something which is known internally to the Fortinet TAC, where they have seen some misbehaviors and making certain changes into the configuration will fix those. So those are something which only TAC understands. So making sure that you do not waste more of your customer's time, and to make sure that that guy does not piss us off, you go for that, because this amount of, if you're doing this amount of training, this is more than sufficient. Okay. 7. Now see, when it comes to flapping, yeah, Satish.
सर 2 क्वेश्चन है बस मेरे. हेलो हेलो
Can you repeat the question, Satish?
सर 2 क्वेश्चन है सर मेरे. एक बार सर डैशबोर्ड पे जाएंगे सर. आई Fortinet पे.
Tell me.
Fortinet सर IPSEC टनल पे जाना सर एक बार.
No, okay, repeat your question.
सर Fortinet IPSEC टनल पे जाना सर.
Fortinet IPSEC. Over here, यहाँ पे. 1 second. Got stuck.
नहीं सर Fortinet की वर्चुअल मशीन जो है.
So your mind map is for me. Are you asking about the CLI or the GUI of the
GUI सर GUI.
GUI. Okay. VPN.
जी सर अभी सर इसे ओपन करना
Okay. Over here.
जी सर सर ये फेज 2 और फेज 1 ये हो गया हमारा ये सर तो यहाँ पे कुछ डाउट है एक तो सर हमारा फेज 1 हो गया फेज 2 हो गया फेज 3 को किसे किसे कहते हैं सर
This is phase 2.
IPSEC 3 phase 2 and phase 1 phase
What's the question, Satish? Phase what in phase 2?
So-
Voice is breaking also.
internet issue sir
Satish, your voice is breaking.
sir मैं check करता
Put up in the chat. I'm not able to hear you properly. I'm waiting. Put up your question in the chat. Okay. In the meantime, till the time he puts the question, I hope this starts to work. What happened?
hello
Yeah.
hello hello
Satish, tell me.
सर अभी आपको आवाज आ रही है मेरी
Yeah, but then still breaking. Tell me. You have phase 1. Phase 1 have 2 versions. Yes.
सर कुछ डाउट है सर
Satish, you can connect to me a little. Okay, no problem. You're anyway in the classes.
सर फेज 1 और फेज 2 फेज 1 में 2 वर्जन होते हैं एक हेलो
Yeah.
ठीक
Satish, can't hear you. Sorry. I can't waste more time. Do one thing, please connect to me on my WhatsApp. Okay, I'll take your answer. Sorry, I'll take your question. Sorry. It's too much of background noise and I'm not able to, get the full question. So for that reason, I'm not taking the question right now. Nevertheless, please do ask your question in the WhatsApp. I'll take that up with you. Okay. 1 second. Guys, 1 second. My mind map has gone stuck for some reasons. 1 second. Let me just try to. Okay. Some problem with my mind map. Okay. Anyways, the next level of troubleshooting was when you are basically working with the IPSEC VPN, which is flapping. Now, when you have a VPN interface which is flapping, it's it's actually easy. Flapping cases are easy. I'll tell you how. See, when you have a VPN which is flapping, that means configuration is not really a problem. Okay, and I'm just telling you from the point of view of experience. Flapping interfaces is not a problem in general until and unless you are using a dial-up interface or maybe your ISP is using a dial-up internet. Okay, those are the cases where VPN flapping issues happens the most. One, how will you troubleshoot? Again, packet captures you will be able to see packets coming in and out, but you will see that if you are sending 5 requests, you might get 3 responses. Okay, so if that's the case, there is a chance of flapping as well. The other way of flapping is that if you do refresh over here, you will see the interface going up, down, up, down, up, down. So if that's also happening, of course, it's one of the flapping issues as well. So if that's the case, one of the best ways to figure out this is take a capture on both the firewalls, whatever firewall that you have. If you have both the firewalls Fortigate, great. Just make sure that you have a capture over here, you have another capture over here, and make sure that you're trying to ping one of them. What will happen is in one of the sides, you will see that, you know, the packet drops are much more as compared to the other side. Okay, so if that's the case, those are basically, most of the cases are your ISP issues. If you change the ISP, it basically fixes the problem. So majority of the time it's an ISP issue, but it could also be problem on your interface level. Okay, now remember that we saw this particular command, diagnose VPN tunnel list name and whatever the VPN tunnel name that we have, right? So over here, we were able to understand what was the MTU which was configured on your VPN, right? So what do you need to do? You need to ensure that this is 1500. If in case it is not, if it is maybe on the interface level, somebody has changed this 1500 to a lower level, let's say 1492 or 1480 or something like this, whatever the case may be. If that's the case, slowness and performance issue or flapping issues will come. So make sure this MTU value is 1500. Okay. Another flapping issues could also be as simple as physical cable issues. Okay, so the first level of troubleshooting has always been your cable. So if in case you have an SFP, you change the SFP and see if that works out. If it is not an SFP, it's an Ethernet cable, you change the cable and you see whether that is working or not. Okay, so these cable issues could also be one of those reasons if it is not cable. So what I'm doing right now is basically using the OSI model, and I'm trying to, you know, move from physical level or physical layer 1 to data link layer to network layer to transport layer, right? So basically cabling issues, power issues, that's all your physical 1 layer. MTU is something which is basically at your layer 2, 3, and 4. Because if you have 1500 MTU, then of course your MSS is 1460. But if your MTU is 1492 or 1480 or a little lower than that, then you need to minus 20 bytes to see what's the MSS value is. So point is, a lower MTU would cause performance and slowness and flapping issues as well. So make sure your MTUs are also configured correctly. Okay. Okay, 1 second. Yeah. Next, if all the other troubleshooting that you have done, still you feel that, something is, we are not able to figure out what's the problem is, then the best case is basically to correct the logs and move the case to the tag. Now, if that's the case, what kind of logs we need to collect? What are the logs that should be taken in case of, for the tag, to make sure that on the first day itself, we have the right info that will help them. Okay. So I'm gonna put my notepad and copy paste it over here. My mind map is not working, so sorry for that. It is hung. I can't do anything on that right now. But let me show you. These are the list of commands that you would be sending. I'll send this to in the chat box. 1 second. Keep a note of all these commands. This will help you in most of your firewall troubleshooting, or at least the VPN troubleshooting for that matter. Okay. So the diagnose debug application IKE1, we just saw that. Okay. That's one. Second is the debug crash log. Crash log is something, if it is a system level issue, it will show up over here. Okay. Performance status, again, performance issues, CPU issues, memory issues, because that could also create flapping, network interface issues and drops and packet issues. So making sure performance of the firewall, that's also taken care. Conserve mode, if in case your firewall is going into conserve mode. Hardware device info. Then VPN gateway list. You need to go give a list of all the gateways in the VPN list, so that you can, at least the tag would be able to understand which VPN are you trying to work with. Okay. Diagnose VPN IK gateway list, and then diagnose VPN tunnel. So this will give you a greater detail of information about the VPN tunnels, which they would be able to use to figure out what the problem is. Execute tag report is the king. It's king of logs. I still remember when I was in Fortinet tag as an L2, I used to send out a list of 50 commands for the customer to run and give me a report back. Execute tag report basically does the same thing, but it does that sequentially. So you do not need to worry about it. You just need to run this 3 words execute tag report. Once you do this, you will be able to make sure that all those commands, every information for that particular firewall, every information, I'm not even the VPN itself, all the other information would be there, which gives I would say 90% of the information which is needed for the tag to work on your case. Yes, of course. I mean, 10%, of course, there will be certain things which needs maybe a live, remote session needs to happen or something needs to happen. But yeah, this will be easy for the tag to work with. Okay. Now, see, having said all these things, which we discussed today, I know it's a lot. I wanted to cover a lot more, but if I do continue, I know that there will be information which will which will be overwhelming for all of you. So let's do one thing. Whatever you guys were able to understand, guys who are in the batch, the Fortigate batch, don't worry, you'll get the recording of this in the portal itself. Go through it as many times as you want. Okay. And then on the live classes, we will be discussing this in greater detail. So don't worry about this. People who are joining from the Telegram group, I'll try to give this as a public access to all of you, so that you can also go through this and ask your questions. So I just want to make sure that all of you who have joined are able to make the most out of it. See, VPN as a case, VPN as a technology, VPN as a topic on the Fortigate firewall, I cannot tell you. I've seen so many cases and issues and so many situations that if I just if I just take sessions on the VPN itself, I'll take 10 sessions and 20 sessions, 2 for 2 hours each. So I cannot cover each and everything for that. From what I need from you is whatever you learn from over here. I need you guys to put your questions. I need you guys to tell me what is that which is causing issues in your environment. What is that which is where you need help, where you need the most help. Okay, so I'll try to make sessions and create videos which will basically help you out on those as well. So that's the amount of help which I need, and it's actually one of the easiest thing. You just put your questions. I'll make sure I'll be able to deliver you what you need. So put your questions, and I'll take care of the rest. Okay. So having said all these things, I hope this session was informative and a little bit helpful to all of you. If in case you have any questions, please feel free to put up on the WhatsApp. Please put it up in the Telegram. Please put it up in the YouTube. Wherever you need, you just put up the question. So I'll try to figure out, and if I need to create another session on it, I'll definitely do it. Again, as I said, VPN is an ocean itself, and I cannot have one bucket of water and I'll say, okay, there you go, VPN done. Nobody would be able to do it. So point is, if something is creating issues for you, you ask your questions, I'll take care of the rest. Okay. Having said that, it's a weekend for all of you. I wish that you guys have a great weekend ahead. People who are in India, it's an India-Pakistan match. Please go ahead and watch, enjoy the game as well. And I'll see you guys with the next session real soon. All the best, and see you guys soon. Bye-bye. Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Happy weekend for all of you.
Thank you, Rob.
Thank you. Thank you.